Good afternoon, everyone. This is a meeting of the Open Space Committee, January 17th at 2:30. This meeting will be video recorded and broadcast over local access channel 8 and to the town website, www.easthammass.gov. Welcome, everyone. We'll do a roll call for the quorum. Francis Lewis here.
Saul Fisher here.
Linda Dorflinger here.
Aaron Strauss here.
Joanna Buffington here.
Young here.
Yeah, great. And Kate had another commitment today, so this is quorum. And Karen, you're gonna take the minutes, please?
Yep.
All right, Hillary is at the health fair at the library, and Alex, we hope, is traveling safely in airspace back to New England. He got held up with the airlines. Before we start the meeting, I'm glad you're all here. It was last minute. I remembered that the login information had changed, so the revised agenda login sheet has a new link, a new password, and a new meeting ID. So that's the one we use going forward. All right. And so that's good. And okay, before we start the actual agenda, my friend Saul is here. And I think he's going to tell us something.
Well, it's with both sadness and glee that I announced that I'm planning to resign from our committee here. It's my year to end. I'm going to be a significant age difference this year. My decade is changing. And I think that it's been very disruptive for me to be traveling out of the country every year. It's really been hard for me to get involved and stay involved in things. And my physical situation has been changing along with my age, so that doesn't make it easier for me to function. So that I'm sorry to leave, but I would see it as a relief for me too. And I hope perhaps Joanna and I can still work on a bench, or I could join you with the benching exercise. And I'll look forward to our going for a walk and looking for a place to bench. So thank you, and it's been a pleasure to work with you, and I've been impressed with each of you and the work you do and your commitment to the community here. And it's been fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Saul.
Saul, are you staying in Eastham or are you moving to the other side of the world?
I'm staying in Eastham at this point, although my daughter's moving. She's moving out of Vietnam and is going to another part of Asia.
That's what I wondered. Yeah. Well, we'll see you here in town then, but
I'll
miss
be
you on the
around.
committee.
That's right.
Well, I think we should vote Saul emeritus member. And then you can come and hang out with us
Yes,
anytime you want.
anytime,
There you go.
Wednesdays, third Wednesday of the month at 2:30.
All right. Yeah.
You're gonna join us. I just want to say, of course, we all know Saul was a little bit ahead of me on the committee, so he's always been on the committee along with Joanna and Karen, and you bring a lot of background, thoughtfulness, sensitivity, a lot of good things. We'll miss it. Well, we will certainly miss that, but I'm glad you're staying in town, and we'll keep in touch, and we'll see you and we'll talk about things.
Indeed so.
We all like to take walks in the woods, and Saul's a good, or bike ride with him on the rail trail. All right, thank you, Saul, dear. All right, on to the agenda. OSRP Land Management Plan. I did contact Shayna. No update on the OSRP. She will get back to me with some information. On the land management plan for Wiley and Nickerson, the RFP was posted, and the due date for applications is February 13th. So that is moving on as we planned. All right, on the second topic, conservation restrictions. We know we had to be signed off by the Conservation Commission, the Select Board, and then it was gonna be moved to ECF. I have a meeting set up with Alex on Friday to review what we talked about at the meeting and to ask him any questions. So, a question to you, Karen, are you aware if the Conservation Commission has done sign off process yet? on-
I am not. Last I checked, Alex was making a change to the documents and I have not heard back from him. He's been away and kind of stuck traveling, so I wasn't really able to check in with him ahead of this.
That's on why I got a list here of things to talk about on
Mhm.
Friday.
Yeah, I have a meeting with him on Friday as well.
Mine's at 2 o'clock, we'll see.
What time?
2 o'clock, I'm meeting him.
That'll be after mine, so. But we'll both check in and we'll see where we stand.
We'll check in with that. Okay. On stewardship. Sandy Meadow, as we all know, on January 26th, AmeriCorps is scheduled. And I think, Rob, we were talking about how can we show appreciation, and we had the idea of like hot cider.
Right.
I can organize some, look around in the basement for containers and some cups. Just
Okay.
something. Now,
Reach out to me, I'll
remember,
help you.
excuse me?
Count me in, I'll help.
Okay, right. I'll actually talk to Alex about that and get a time, that would be good for, I definitely wanted to go and help out for an hour or two, depending on the weather and whatever, and I will contact you too, okay?
Okay,
Anybody else that's interested, if it turns out on the 26th, you want to show up, let me know and I'll make sure you know our plan, our working plan of when we want to go. Alex did send me some updates for this meeting. I'm gonna read from an email. I had a site visit with DNR and AmeriCorps staff to discuss the project. The plan is to remove standing stumps, pitch pine saplings, and black locust samplings and complete vista pruning. So that is the work plan for the 26th. Sounds like everything we were talking about. Also on Sandy Meadow, here's something for you to think about, please. He also wrote, Scott asked if portions of the property could be mowed with a Kubota mower as part of the annual maintenance going forward. That's Kubota, if you're familiar with it. This mower would be a more efficient way to manage sprouting black locust and pitch pine. I think this approach will work on portions of the property, but not all. Some areas have delicate ground cover. I told Scott I would defer to the Open Space Committee on this. All right. Can I have your thoughts on that? My initial thought is to defer to Alex about where the ground cover is, not to mow there, and to think about the other spots. Can I have your input, please?
Well,
Oh, that's Karen. Yeah.
okay, I'd just be worried because, there's a lot of state listed, species, vegetation out there. And I'm not familiar with this type of mower and how high it cuts and what it might do to some of the, protected species. I'd have to have more details.
Right. So
And,
that's,
and if Alex is saying that some portions are okay, I'd probably wind up being okay with his assessment. He has enough knowledge there, but I'd still like to know a little bit more about the mower and how much it height above things is cutting and so on and so forth.
all right. I will bring that to the Friday's meeting, and I think Joanna, please.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of Alex is, if he doesn't know, but he does probably know a lot of this, and he'd be the one again to know what's there and how the mower works and where to do that. So I would see, is he on, I mean, that's just the question for Friday. Is he, does he have any questions? I don't think he should defer to us because we're not out there and looking, and he is. That's what I'm saying.
And does this change in plan need to be referred to Natural Heritage for review as the whole site needed review on the maintenance plan, the restoration plan?
The Natural Heritage Foundation, yeah.
Hopefully
It's in,
not.
well, yeah, because it's an NHESP priority habitat for rare species
Yeah.
site.
Does it
So-
have to do anything to the Conservation Commission?
Well, we currently have no jurisdiction over that,
Okay,
even though we're working on getting some jurisdiction over priority habitat outside of the wetlands areas.
right.
We don't have jurisdiction on that, and it's not a protected open space site under Concom jurisdiction, so.
Okay, so it's, we need more details, learn more about the mower. Be aware of the rare species that are there. And see if you have to have a review by Natural Heritage. Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay. So that would be on the Friday meeting.
because I personally would rather err on the side of caution because a few black locusts versus the other rare species.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be horrific if that happened. Okay, that is that piece. Now, the next piece is, the interpretive signage project. So we're moving along, and that thanks Karen, actually, for all your design work. I mean, your vision and technical expertise and attention to detail, they're legendary. And thank you, Rob, for all the work there too. So now we're hoping to move smoothly into the production process with Fossil Industries.
Fossil graphics.
Fossil Graphics, thank you. And I know, Karen, that you've been working, you sent out information to me, on the signs. With Alex, I guess Alex needs to have a working unit.
Well, Well, let's just say that Alex, I guess, didn't want to access the Google Drive with his personal account info. And then I put it on my iCloud Drive, and it apparently asked for a password that he didn't want to give either. So it's now on a thumb drive waiting for him to come and collect once he's back from his journeys.
Right.
And I'm gonna chat with him about that because that doesn't seem a workable thing in the long term to always have to dump stuff onto a drive. So,
They don't have a Google account that they could use at the
yeah, well,
town?
yeah.
a
it-
Gmail or something that they could set up a Google Drive? I don't
Yeah,
understand.
we're gonna chat about that. I was kind of working back and forth, just trying to get him the data or the files.
Right.
And then he was away and stuck in the frigid weather and, things
Right.
kind of blew up this week. So we spent most of Friday trying to get him the files without having somebody physically needing to pick them up, so.
Okay.
And yeah, there some discussion about seeing if the town can set up a shared folder for us under their auspices that we might be able to use. Because we do have a lot of documents and projects we're working on, and really it just would be nice to have them all in one place.
Exactly.
And that we each might be able to upload materials as we have to
Oh,
and
it's-
share them.
especially if we want to try to update have them update the website and stuff. It's a good place for us to send it. And then they would have access to it.
Yeah. So that's gonna be part of my conversation with him generally. If you're happy to let me kind of work that, see if I can work that out.
So, will you have time in your meeting with him on Friday to talk about how he's gonna handle the files?
Yeah,
Okay, because that's more, what needs to be done.
yeah, I did send him a separate email with specs. You've all seen them before. We talked about them many times, so he has that again. I was under the impression that he had them already, but it seems like if he wasn't accessing previous links I had shared with him, that he wouldn't have had the files.
Okay.
So I don't know what's up with that really, but we'll figure it out.
And then I have from my notes that the first thing we're gonna ask for is a current estimate and proof prints.
We're gonna ask for an estimate to print the two signs, the bowl and the Meet the Locals signs. No point in getting an estimate on the trailhead sign because we're not sure when we're gonna go ahead with that
On
at
the
this
two-
point.
On the two smaller signs, we're getting the estimate and the proof prints, so that we can.
Yeah,
all-
the ones that will actually be out along the trail.
All right,
So an estimate on the signs plus the aluminum framing and such.
Right.
And an estimate on some proof prints.
all right.
And as far as I can tell, the files are set up appropriately to their bleed and other specifications.
And just with so much turnover in staff with the town, just I'm assuming the natural resources or DPW guy that can still install the signs but we better make sure.
Right.
Hadn't got that far,
I'll add that to my discussion with Alex.
thank you.
I think it's just a matter, they were gonna supply, I think, also the 4x4s for the signposts, so. Just to make sure that they can still do that. I think it's mostly just digging a couple of post holes and shoving the signs on top of the posts, but. But I'll add that to my discussion list.
On that walk we took maybe in early December, we talked about where the signs were gonna go along the trail. And they're on the side facing the bowl, so they weren't gonna be on the side that would be enlarged. Widened for the ADA, so I think that should move along smoothly.
Mhm.
And Scott was there. I'm blocking on his last name on that, is it Phillips?
Richards,
Scott Richards, yeah.
also the harbor master.
Yes, Scott Richards was there and he seemed to, he was. Thinking it was very, very doable. So, I mean, that was a good input.
Well,
Yeah,
and we're
so-
talking
so-
about wayside signs, right? So it's not just a post, it's
Angled. Angled.
Well, it's an angled frame designed so that when you put it on the post, it's tipped at the right angle for viewing and for wheelchair access under it. That's,
okay.
Department of Natural Resources, I think, is getting a new person this week. Or beginning of next week, according to Stephanie.
Oh, okay.
Hey, multiple assistants up there,
Yeah,
multiple.
I know. Well, this is the one you can't see. She's on my lap. So yeah, my wife is recuperating in the bedroom. So, from her surgery. So I'm on dog detail, including
Oh my
being in the meeting. So
They seem like very cat-like dogs because they're right up in your shoulder
yeah.
and in your
Oh, yeah.
face.
Oh yeah, they're very much attached to me. It's also, we're pushing the envelope to see if we can try to convince me to FEED them
Okay.
sooner.
Oh,
Yes. I know that, but my cat can spell that word.
Yeah. If I
yeah.
said it, I'd be totally messed up. I would be out of the
Well,
meeting.
that's the difference with dogs. The cats, you only have to think it
Right. They think it for you, but that's,
and put it implanted in your brain. Of course they do. But yeah, at the Concom meeting last Tuesday, Stephanie said they were getting a new DNR person. And I think she said it was this week. So that should make it easier perhaps to get some of the stuff that needs to be done handled. Though there's probably a long backlog.
Okay.
Hi, Karen, on the trailhead sign, what are the remaining steps that need to be done?
Oh, we need to do the map and we need to figure out if the ADA trail is going in there. So we need to, the map is kind of a placeholder at this moment. We were gonna see, Paul is the keeper of the town GIS stuff. Hopefully should be able to help us print out a map with our proper waypoints on them for signs, benches, steps, and so on. So we need to prepare a proper legend
Right.
as well.
And then with the ADA extension, we need to have that information on it.
Yeah,
All right, that doesn't, yeah, all right.
but we don't want to jump the gun and print a sign with all that stuff on it if it's not happening and then put it out and it's not there, so.
Well,
Right.
but
And
just as a sort of compromise, the ADA part that exists now is there, and the extension could go on this, well, that's just one option. Rather than wait till everything's done, which we have no idea when that would be.
Well,
But
it's
just-
waiting.
Let me just,
Oh, sorry.
let me just finish, please. That you could put it with the hatch marks of future or in planning. And the rest is there. Oh, we don't have benches yet either. But I just don't like the idea of having no trailhead sign there until we're waiting till everything's done, because it might be years. And I think we have enough that we should get a sign up sooner rather than wait for everything.
Well, I think we're waiting to see if we're getting the ADA trail approved. There is a sign there already. So I don't see the point in spending a lot of money to print a sign that might be out of date within months to a year.
my question is, are we waiting for the CPA approval of the ADA extension, or do you think we should wait until the trail has been widened?
Well, I think it's sufficient to wait until the funding would be approved, which would be at town meeting,
Okay, I get that.
assuming that the CPA committee
Right.
approves.
Okay, yeah, because following Joanna's point, I don't think we should put it off until the work is done, because we don't know when that would happen.
Right, and I'm not suggesting that, I'm just,
Just
Okay.
clarifying here, and then the map is,
and it's not like there's no sign out there already.
we need help from Paul Legg's office.
Yeah, because I think what we need is a higher resolution of the, the placeholder is the open streets map, because it had the really nice, detail of the contour lines and such. And they already had some trail markings on there, so that, but it doesn't quite match with what we're doing, and it doesn't, and we need to put in further details and legends and trail distances and so on.
Okay, so it sounds like I'm fine with waiting a bit. I think, but shall we then make our goal for the meeting after town meeting, assuming everything is approved, that we then move on a sign design and the rest of the information that we do have?
Right, but I think in the meantime, we can see what we can do about getting the map taken care of. And then after town meeting, we can push right away to get a printing job done.
Okay.
And then we can, kind of schedule that along with, so that we can, if we're getting the work done this year, that we can deploy the sign and the work, sort of simultaneously.
We have enough information that we can put a request to Paul Legg for what we want from his office for the sign.
I think I could certainly talk to him about what we are looking for. I think it's more like a conversation than an email.
Good. And just to get where we are,
Mhm.
could you, put that on your never-ending list, Karen?
I'm just funny because Alex and I had that conversation the other day about never ending to-do lists or self-fulfilling ones. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. Okay, well, that's where we are. Interpretive signage project. On the CPA application. It was at the February 7th meeting. Is that still there? Are we planning to? Did we get any supporting information from the bids?
We did not. Nobody wants to do that at the moment. I've got a few other people I've just sent out emails to this week, so still working on it. Yeah. Oh, sorry, that's Francis's job.
So, please.
Oh, the meeting is not on the 7th anymore because there's a conflict with something else. So the CPA meeting is actually on Thursday, February 8th at 4 p.m. I don't know if Karen, if you got that information from Stacy.
I did not.
Okay. I've written it down in 3 places. It might still be double check, but it's 4 p.m. on Thursday, February 8th. And yeah.
Okay, I won't schedule any doctor's appointments.
There's a number of yeah, the 2 town projects have been postponed in the housing. There's like 4. It's going to be a long meeting. So
Yeah, and Stacy asked for updates on the signs, so I will provide that as well.
okay.
Is there a way we can give a ballpark figure? If we do it like 30,000, 50,000,
Well,
what it's gonna cost? If we don't get a bid in, I mean, it's possible we don't get,
Well, that's what I'm planning to do at the moment.
okay,
Put in a ballpark that it wouldn't exceed a certain amount without coming back to them, but still working on bids. We'll see what they think.
what number were you thinking?
Well, 30 to 40. Somewhere in that range.
Okay. With labor, being in-house or not in-house, and in-house and AmeriCorps,
well-
neither of which would cost money.
Well, so far the in-house has not been forthcoming.
Okay.
And we certainly have not heard back from the DPW superintendent
Mhm.
about that. So I'm assuming that's a no-go because they're
Okay.
still
Okay, so
completely
that
understaffed.
figure, would be with labor.
Hiring outside, yeah, with
Okay,
labor
that's-
costs.
And again, with the way CPA works is you can put that in and not to exceed part, and then anything not spent and any free labor, the money gets, returned to the same fund. So
Right.
it's not a problem.
Yeah,
Does
and
the group think 40,000 is high enough? I know things are always more expensive than I think they are. Rob, you're out and about in real estate. Does that sound reasonable to you?
Yeah, I think it does. I think you're in the ballpark.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
somebody will want to do the work. They just don't want to
Yeah.
bid on it at
Yeah.
the moment without, that it's a project somewhere down the road.
Right.
I think is.
Yeah, it's kind of early for them to make a private person because.
Yeah, and when we do get formal bids on this, I absolutely don't want to be involved in picking the person to do the work because they almost all appear before the Conservation Commission, so I
Okay.
think I need to recuse myself from that part of this process.
Okay.
In the happy event, we have bids to choose from.
I think once we, get to that point, that there will be people who want to do the job.
All right, okay. All right, so that's Thursday. And what was the time, Joanna?
4 o'clock is the start time,
I didn't write that down. Okay, Thursday, the 8th,
Thursday, the 8th.
February 8th, yeah. Okay, thank you. Any other comments on those points on Sandy Meadow?
I think
Right.
so.
Okay. Now, the next thing is the volunteer monitoring app. So poor Alex has been working probably in an airport on his phone. And I got a email from him this morning, which I forwarded very close to the meeting to you, so you haven't had time to look at it. But when you open it up, he has a beginning draft of a volunteer app. He's been working with Paul Legg's office, and the staff member is Angela Hurwitz. She is an IT applications manager. And I only had time to look at it quickly. He wants our input on it. So if you look at it before Friday, specific questions, I can bring them up to him. You can email him. But I think we're all gonna have to at one point sit down with the app and, and use it, ideally in a space. It's already set up. The one thing I noticed was, it's already set up for all the properties. I mean, you can click Higgins, you can click, Sandy Meadow, you can click Southeastern Conservation Area. So that piece is set up, and there's parts for putting notes on trail conditions, fauna, and then there's a part that I didn't understand, where you can upload photos. So I think it's gonna be a very sophisticated, very useful tool. But I'm a hands-on person. So
Yeah. Well, it's an app, Francis. I think we need to see it operating to really know what
right,
it can and can't do. And also, he was gonna check as to when we put these notes in or these pictures, of the notes, let's say some downed trees or whatever it may be. Where is this information gonna go and who is going to be monitoring it? So it's, we need to start thinking about that is who's going to be reviewing it. Because it's great to eventually have these volunteers, even if it ends up being us going around using the app in the beginning. But who's at that other end? Taking in this information and doing what with it? Is it something that we're going to get on a monthly basis to review, or does it go to DPW, or who is the clearinghouse, I guess?
Alex,
Okay.
we'll double check. Now, when you, Linda and Bob, you had that initial meeting with Alex to get this going, so I'd be very interested when you guys have a chance to look at it on your.
yeah, I had a quick look, and I'm the most technically challenged person, and but I did click on the link and it came up, and I thought it looked pretty good. It's got, drop down with invasive stuff on it. You can click on things. Again, I think, as Rob said, getting it out and trying to use it from your phone when you're in a place, see, that's where the glitches might come up. But
Right.
it looked pretty impressive.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
keeping it simple too, so
Yeah.
that people actually do. You can't have too many
Right.
steps and too many things for them to do. It'll be like us revising the walking thing we had for monitoring the dogs all summer. There was a new sheet every week.
Right.
Once just keeping it down, to basics, I think is really good to start with. You can always add. Karen?
yeah, so I think I'm looking at it on my phone. It looks pretty good. It's very easy to click on the take a photo, take a picture button, and it pops up your option. It pops up your camera. So you can just take the photo and be done with it. And then you can also upload files, from your photo library or from elsewhere. So that looks pretty good. I think it needs to go out in the field, as you guys said, for a little bit of quick beta testing.
Mhm.
But it's looking pretty good. I think it might, maybe these black bars that you have to click on to open up a section of the forms might be a little confusing to some people. There's nothing really that otherwise indicates that if you click on them, something will happen. Just on the first look there. It
Training.
maybe needs a little arrow or something that indicates that this would open up. I mean, there's some usual graphics that pretty much everybody uses to indicate that there's a drop-down menu or something. So I think that might need to be added here, just so that people will understand that they can find all the stuff they're not seeing that they need to fill out just by clicking on those.
Right. I think, you know, and a good beta testing, I think is right. Karen's right.
Yes, and field testing. Not,
So-
maybe not just the members of the committee, recruit a few other people who know nothing about this stuff to give them a quick brief and send them out to try it. Because it's going to be used with regular volunteers who
Right.
aren't maybe as familiar with some of this stuff.
Well, I'll share our idea about these thoughts with him on
But-
Friday meeting and, but please send him any thoughts you have.
Yeah, but it's looking really good as certainly as a very, very robust start.
Right.
Certainly, right, right. Okay. And website and trail map updating. Okay. Where am I had a note from Kate, who's very interested in creating new trails, new trail maps. And she has been, I'm gonna share with you, she has been in touch with, Paul Lag about if there was town web-based software that we could use, and this is Paul's response. Yes, we have some web-based software that will allow the user to take GPS points from which we can create a trail map. Alex Bates has been learning the new software, and we are in the middle of creating a new data collector app for the open space stewardship program. So this should all fit together nicely. I recommend we all discuss the project together and we can determine the best way to move ahead. So it does tie in together. And Saul, thank you, because in Kate's email, she talks about how you gave her information about Henry Glenn's software and whatever, so.
Very nice.
We can't do without you.
I'll tell you, I'll be missed.
So that all fits together nicely, so, I think, that's also on my list for the meeting on Friday with Alex. Anything specific you want me to follow up with him on that piece before, so we can get some stuff before next month's meeting? I'll just see where he is with Paul and, you know, what
Yeah,
input he
I
needs.
think that's a lot. I mean, you know, get those answers. I think, you know,
Yeah,
getting
right.
anything more is, you know, his plate is full, I'm sure.
I'm sure everybody, yeah, I know, but Kate is very interested in going out on trails and, she's very optimistic. This is a very, quickly done job.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
So there we are on that one. So, you know, we'll have to. My paperwork wasn't in order and I wasn't reading my own directions. You still have to approve the minutes, but we'll do that at the end.
Okay.
I forgot, I just noticed that now. I skipped over that part. I apologize. Okay, so that's where we are. And I have to ask him about the website updates. There were just contact information that had to be updated. And then the trail maps have to wait till we get the latest trail maps. Are you thinking about anything that you also want to see changed on the website or improved? Start working on that stuff.
Well, it's completely out of date and lists the address as Orchard Road and has a phone number that doesn't actually get answered.
Yeah, he's sure of that, and he had the contact person in the administration who was gonna change that. So
Mhm.
I'll follow up with all that.
Yeah, that might be Angela again. She's the IT director, so
The
she did.
IT applications manager.
Okay, well, she's the one who did the work to get the new town website.
That's probably a piece of cake for her. All right, so that part, well, I think the updating is easy, but then the trail maps have to wait until we get that piece done.
Right, and we're also just going back to the interpretive signs for a minute and the website, that there is information that supports those signs that will need to go on our website as well. So that's getting worked on. At least the information's getting worked on, and then it needs to be put up on the website so that those QR codes that we're putting on the signs will actually get somewhere
Right,
and to some good info.
yeah, that's absolutely.
And also necessary to provide the appropriate copyright info for the photos that we've used. Since a lot of them are Creative Commons and we're obligated,
Are the
but
QR codes, remind me please, on the two signs that we're going ahead with looking.
yeah, they're gonna have to be, we decided that they were gonna be added as a sticker and not printed on the sign in case they need to be changed.
Right, so that will be coming up in the next year.
Right, and we'll just need to get some waterproof stickers printed at the appropriate time, which I don't think would be an issue. Even Staples, I think, can do that for us. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
So it's just a question of getting that info prepared and ready.
Right.
And then figuring out how it goes on the website and what the link would be, whether it would be to the front page of the open space website or particularly to a Sandy Meadow page, and just how we want to direct people.
And the content of the QR codes. Do we?
They would have additional information supporting what is on the signs already. So some additional history, perhaps about how the site, what the site was before the town bought it, how it was used. It would have information about the natural heritage, identified species that are on our signs, and so on and so forth.
Have we made any headway on that? I don't remember that particular piece of it when I was in the meetings that I was in and a bit back.
Well, I don't think we've actually talked about that part in a while.
Okay.
But it was definitely in the original discussion.
I remember that, but I don't remember seeing any copies, so that's something that needs.
Well, yeah, that's something that's been worked on, but not to the point of being shared yet. I think the signs were coming first. And then this will get done in time to be deployed as the signs are, or ahead of that. So that's going to get done in the next little bit so that we can get them up on the website in time to coincide with the signs being deployed.
Okay, thank you.
But the information, most of the information is already sitting on my hard drive here, including
Okay.
and the question is whether some of it, that what will be on our website will be links to information pages from Natural Heritage, where they do have documents or do have fact sheets related to specific species, and other information has to be or is being created from scratch there. But let's say I can have drafts for you at the next meeting.
That would be good, I think. Thank you. If it works out, because it can review in our minds what it is that we were going to have the links to. Thank you, Karen. Thank you. Okay. Now, again, Karen, the strategic plan goals. You sent out the documents of the goals and the steps. Could you, please help us, what is it that you want from the, committee wants from open space on the document input, on where do you want our input and what kind of input?
Right, so originally the thought was for the strategic planning committee to pull action, what were called action items are now goals and objectives from the OSRP, thinking that it would be completed in time so that we could just use that as a basis to pull things, action items out for the strategic plan. Obviously, that is not the case. And the other part was what action items from the current strategic plan need to be carried forward or should be carried forward into the next plan. So we've identified some of that that's listed in the materials, the draft materials that Francis sent to you guys. And we're looking to get a little more specific in what some of these things are, such as when we're looking at working with the housing folks to figure out what land would be housing, municipal or open space, or worked together. That plan has not yet been solidified. So what would be needed to make that happen? What would be needed to make sure that we have a written plan of what are the steps if the properties in chapter come up for sale? What are the steps that would be needed to be taken if the other large parcels of land come up, or other parcels of land come up suddenly and need to be purchased? So that stuff we had talked about doing before, but hasn't been completed. And so things in that kind of detail could go into the plan so that they would get some priority. So there's so looking at what has been on the list, what is needed to move some of those things forward, and what needs to be continued, what needs to be added that hasn't yet been considered. Along the range of what's listed in and also looking at the language describing the goals and so on themselves before we get to the objective steps. So basically, you guys look at it all. I'm not explaining it well, I don't think. But we're looking to put in more detail into the plan, more concrete steps into the plan about what needs to be done for open space and for land management. And also you'll see in there climate change resiliency. So I wouldn't mind your comments on that, since you're all pretty well informed on stuff.
So
That's basically.
when we, because you have the activities listed, you have the general goal, and then you have activities and you break it down. So you want more, if we can come up with more to offer more concrete steps to achieve those activities?
And whether we have the right activities listed, whether some things are not on there, what are priorities? What needs to be done to do them? Are some of these steps nested and generally?
It says here before your February, where did I see that date?
Yeah, unfortunately, our February meeting is on Valentine's Day, so that's the week before. So really, if you might share comments to me directly from each of you, I can try to collate that into something and then run it past Francis and Joanna.
It really sounds, Francis, like a lot of what you have in your agenda today. It's really what should be in there, because they talk about action plans and goals.
Yeah, and you'll have another opportunity to look at this stuff again before it becomes final in the plan, so we're still in a working stage. now. It's not a final stage. This is still in a preliminary.
So is
Point.
that, you're looking for concrete pieces, I mean, in additions to, but you've probably done a pretty good job with the scope. But for instance, you brought up that we did have a few meetings, was it last year, or the year before, with affordable housing, but that is being run not by us. We're not the initiators on this. There was open space and affordable housing joint meetings.
And then the municipal part as well. So, yeah, yes, but if it goes into it's part us, it's part them, and it really hasn't gotten to the point where anything's been produced.
Correct.
So it needs to move ahead with that, because what if these parcels come up for sale and that's not the time to decide who gets them or how they're might be used as a municipal focus and priority. So that really needs to be done before anything comes up for sale. And again, that's tied in with how do we purchase them when they do come up.
Yeah, I think I'll look more closely at that section too. But the four entities that should be, have the, what do we do? Act quickly and plan it before it comes up. Are from the CPA standpoint, it's the community housing and open space. So there's two parts there, and the Affordable Housing Trust, which gets money from CPA every year, but they also have, they're a trust and they have a fund, and so that's the third entity, and the town, of course, is the fourth entity. But especially, like Karen said, there's several properties that we've already discussed in that joint meeting, chapter 61, and some others that, yeah, there needs to be a specific strategic plan on if something, not to wait till something comes for sale, because that's even the chapter 61, it's what, 120 days. You can't do things.
Right. And it's foolish to wait to that point.
Right.
And it's even more foolish to wait to that point with the ones that are not in chapter.
Right.
Because, and so one of my thoughts on that, do we want to evaluate the possibility of getting in touch with property owners that are not in chapter and possibly purchasing right of first refusal, to explore that as an option? So what are the options to make sure that we know these properties, that we know immediately when these properties are thinking of being sold, and having the opportunity to get them before they go in the open market, perhaps, or at least to get a heads up that they are going in the open market. Because a lot of the stuff some of the things that came up that we might have been interested in really went very quickly without an opportunity for anything to happen. So things like that. How do we do that? And let's put them in the strategic plan as particular items, so that they'll get focus and priority from more than just this committee. So, and anything else you see within that, or that we haven't considered yet? Stuff along those lines. So anything you come up with would be a big help. And we're also discussing, just so you know, that the idea of staffing to make sure all of this stuff happens is getting discussed as well. So we're trying hard.
Is that gonna be a separate goal, or should we include that in our suggestions to you where we see and move into open space? Because we know that that's what stymied us and from the last strategic.
Yeah, I don't think you have to include that, because it's certainly a part of the ongoing conversation,
Okay,
and something that I bring up quite a bit. And not just for open space stuff, but for some of these other initiatives as well.
okay.
like some of the climate resilience stuff, how's that gonna get implemented? A lot of these projects, how are they good? They're good, they need to be done. How are they gonna get done? And do we have staffing to make sure they get done, even if we go outside for, and contract the job out? Everything requires some level of staffing to make sure it gets done. Do we have that? And same thing, we've been talking about, do we need somebody who is there as a resource to help committees with grants and applying for grants, and to help committees with education outreach and things like that, because lots of committees have some of these same issues, and could there be a shared resource to help with that?
That's a good goal, Karen.
So we're trying to figure out where things didn't really work, and I think that one of the biggest issues was that things in the plan that were done by town departments got done better than some of the things that were assigned to the committees to do, simply because the committees didn't have the staffing. As we know, we didn't have staffing at all for that. So if these are important things, important enough to be in the strategic plan, then how do we make sure that we have the ability to get them done? Or at least the infrastructure to get them done.
All right, so
But-
believe me that people will reflect. I mean, it's long document when you really, get in it. So reflect and send you specifics, concrete steps or other ideas that you think are missing.
And not everything in all of those three documents relate to what our committees are doing.
Right,
So,
right. I looked at it and I
Mhm.
was thinking open space here, but some of the things
right, so feel free to ignore the stuff that is not relevant.
we didn't, think about or.
Mhm.
But there is some things for the open space recreation plan
Uh-huh.
and open space committee and for open space and housing interact, open space and recreation interact. There are some definite areas.
Right, and at our next meeting, which is February 14th, Christine Mickle will be here to talk to us about recreation and some of the other programs that'll be in goal 4. So,
Okay. All right, we'll try to
and
contribute.
and this will come back again. I believe we'll make sure that it comes back again to the committee to have a look at before we finalize anything.
Good, that would be good, thank you. That it, then I think we have an understanding of what you'd like us to contribute.
Mhm.
All right, and then the next entry says memorial benches, Linda, you were going to reach out and
Right.
see if there are other policies from towns that
So-
we could use.
Sure, so I emailed Mark Robinson and he promptly got back to me and said that Wellfleet and Orleans have a policy that he felt was very sensitive to the spaces. And and both of those bear with me a moment, I don't know these names. They sent me their bench policies. So I have them here. I can send them all to you. One comment was made, I do believe from Steve, who said that, and he's the Orleans Conservation Trust. He said that you have to be sensitive towards the people, the aesthetics of the bench, towards the land. And the land that was donated to the town, do they actually really, the people that donated, do they want man-made benches on it? That was just a comment he made. And I never thought of that.
How much of our land is donated versus purchased? Of the main sites with trails, I think that was all purchased.
I actually don't know.
Well, Higgins was donated, the other ones.
Well, Higgins was purchased, but Higgins was purchased.
That's true. That's true.
but it was a bargain sale, so.
Yeah,
there- yeah, so it's, but that's a good point. But like the others, yeah, I think it's just something to remember. If it's a specific area, we'd want to, make sure people are sensitive to that. But, and I know, Linda, I don't know if you're not done, right, Linda?
No,
Okay, because I know Henry, from ECF standpoint, we have one bench on an ECF property, and it's at the near the bridge at Bridge Road, and it's a property donated in someone's will, and his friends all wanted a bench for him, and so we allowed the friends they've designed it, they paid for it, they installed it. And Conscom had to approve it too, because it's right, right near the marsh. But it's, I'm getting off track here. It as Henry put, it's kind of the town with the benches they've done in the past at the beach. They're such a headache in terms of maintenance and figuring out and people wanting things. And so I just wonder, and Henry, I think pretty much said that ECF doesn't, unless somebody's going to come in and do all that and take care of everything, will allow it. I wonder if the town, as a town, could we do a similar thing? Like say, if you want a bench, the town needs to approve it. You have to go through all the steps, but put the onus on that donor, including the maintenance and stuff, and that's gonna be tough.
The town has traditionally taken care of the install and the maintenance. That the person who wants the bench pays for the bench from options that the town has pre-selected, and the town does the install and the ongoing maintenance.
Right, and I'm saying the town really doesn't want to do that.
Well, we don't know that, because when I talked to Nicole about this earlier on, she said that's what gets done. So it doesn't sound like the town was unwilling to do that. That there's sort of this pact that you're providing the money and giving us a bench, which is in some sense a public service, and then the town is providing the ongoing support for that bench.
Right, and there's a whole new cast of town characters, so I guess it really is sort of starting with
Right,
current town staff and DPW and.
Mhm. And the beach benches are uncomfortable and ugly and would not fit well into our natural environments of our open space properties, so.
What is the history of those beach benches? Does anybody know?
I know my neighbor on Samoset has one of them for his mother. The Nidells had one, and that was put in probably 20 or 30, I don't know, quite some time
It was
ago.
about 25 years ago, Joanne.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's been a moratorium ever since the select
Right.
board said there's enough benches at the beaches.
right. And the ones at the beaches, as Karen said, they're not particularly comfortable or good looking. They also get it, they're just not, they get trashed in storms, the sand comes, they're just,
Mhm.
they're not a good.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
even think that Billy got Vise back installed because it was up by the
Yeah.
bathrooms all during most of the season because it had gotten pulled up by the
Mhm.
Yeah.
last high tide. So yeah, it's a whole different thing. And then some of the ones on First Encounter, if you walk down over the dunes and you go, depending on how the sand is shifted, they're great if your legs are only about a foot.
Yeah, they're
Because you're at sand level, and then some you need a boost, to get up onto. So
yeah, because
you have
the
to be-
sand decretes and depletes
Yeah.
out of there and strange ways,
I
so
think in
they're,
most of our spaces we won't have that much.
So
Yeah.
maybe part of the bigger picture is that there shouldn't be any memorial benches on the beaches, the saltwater beaches, which are only on the bay for Eastham, because of the landscape. It's just, they're not appropriate. But in the parks and, Sandy Meadow, I think there's some wonderful spaces for benches. Higgins, maybe a couple, there's other places. And again, Saul, if we can get out there, it's easy to find places that would be nice to have memorial benches on some town
Mhm.
property that don't include the beaches.
Yeah, and not a huge number, but enough so that they're available particularly to our aging population or people who have some mobility issues who would like to be out in our open spaces and struggle with that. But they need a resting place. And people need a place where they can sit and contemplate in nature, I think, as well. So, but not so many that becomes the focus and not the land.
Right.
And then the design.
So if Linda, if you can, scan or send over the things from Wellfleet and Orleans and Karen, I guess it's really who the policy is it going to be where's it going to sit? Conservation Commission, DPW, DNR?
Well, it's gonna have to be some conversations. Obviously, it's Concom having jurisdiction over most of the sites that you mentioned. Has to get a plan, has to get approval, and then people would have to fill out a form to apply for a bench, and in certain areas would have to fill out a second form because it falls under the wetlands areas. So they'd have to get 2 permissions. Either 1 or 2 permissions, depending on the location. One because of Concom has care and custody, and then the other one because it might need a wetlands administrative review approval. So, but putting the policy together and the forms and stuff really has to be a collaboration between open space and DNR and DPW and Concom. I think being what it is, because we certainly can't approve any bench designs and so on that DPW or DNR won't want to install and maintain. And some of it is maybe we don't want to go too far astray from what the town already has decided is that somebody pays for the bench and the town takes care of it after that. Because it would be kind of a little bit strange to maybe have 2 separate issues. It's certainly easier for the town to try and do the maintenance of the benches themselves than to track people down when they need to do any work and say, okay, we need another $500 because this happened to the bench and so on and so forth. So I think there's a collaboration here. So open space pulling together the rough or not so rough proposal here, and maybe looking at benches with Stephanie input.
Well, I'll send the 2 Wellfleet and Orleans policies through an attachment in an email to everyone.
Mhm. And I was wondering if we're doing benches, do we want to also do memorial trees?
One of these has that in there. They have rocks too.
Oh, well, we have plenty of rocks.
I think it's Orleans.
Mhm.
Just a
Or-
question for Saul. Saul, do you know if the 1651 Forest Group gets requests for a memorial tree in the 1651 area in Wiley Park?
Haven't heard any discussion about that. But keep me posted on the bench thing. I'd like to stay involved in the bench thing if I could. I have the soft spot in my heart for benches. I make them. I have a couple of lovely benches I've made over the years. So I'm happy to work with you in the bench project. And so include me, and I've got to run to another meeting now. So I wish the group tenacity and persistence.
Thank you.
And
Well, we could have a bench subcommittee, that could include people who are not on the open space committee.
I could join a bench subcommittee.
All right, you're on.
All
Might be
right, thank
chair. I
you.
think you're chair.
So,
Thank you
I
so.
wish you all well and more power to you in this journey. Because it really takes character strength to do this work.
So is this your last meeting with us?
This is my last meeting, yes. So I wanted to come in person just to announce my intention.
Well, you will be very much missed.
Well, that's lovely for you to say, and I will miss the connection to this journey. And I will want to keep up on what's going on, because I'd love to see closure on some of these things that have been in the works since I began on the committee. I don't know how many years it is now, but it's enough. So thank you all for your persistence and tenacity, and for the energy that you dedicate to service in the community. I've really been impressed with each of you and your commitment and your service. So it's been nice to join you here in my time. And I'm sure I'll see you around the town, and perhaps we'll share a bench one day.
It's a lovely senior. Thank you, Saul.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Okay, very
We'll
good.
be in touch. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Linda, you're going to send that off. I will share the substance of our conversation with my meeting on Alex. And I had one quick question. I know that Karen, you had said that the Open Space Committee was well situated to give input on where the benches should be, since we're out and about on the properties. You mentioned when we started this a couple meetings ago that there was a request for a bench on the Widow Hardy Pond. Is that
Right.
something we should be thinking about? Is that an
Well-
ongoing request?
Well, that's been, the people who made the request have been told that we had a moratorium in place, but we would be reviewing it and get back to them once we figured out what the plan is.
So the thing is the policy first. And
Well,
then-
well, I think we have to do the policy first, and we have to pick out the benches that we'd allowed first and cost them out
Okay,
before we would go ahead to the point where we can say to somebody, yes, you can put a bench here, it's gonna cost you this much, and you can choose. You can
Okay.
choose from one of these benches and it's gonna cost you this much, and there still needs to be a site visit as well out to where the bench is gonna be, because it needs to be
okay,
a wetlands permit thing as well as a approval generally from Concom, so,
all right. That's clearer to me now. Thank you.
yes, so we do need to have some application forms, I think, and things like that.
All right. Good, and I think we'll begin with thinking about Wellfleet and Orleans.
And they both have application.
And they both
forms.
have application forms that Linda's just looking at now, so. That should help us. So that will be on next month's meeting agenda.
But,
So,
but also maybe to start looking at some bench options. And maybe a conversation with Stephanie Sykes. Just about this in general.
Is being involved in this,
Well, she, I think, is our DNR contact person. It sounds like. Or she would know who would be, certainly.
all right, well, I have been in touch with Stephanie, and our tentative plan right now is for her to join us on our February meeting to talk about her ideas for better signage at Wiley Park to help with people awareness of conservation and expectations and preserving the natural resources there. So right now, she's planning on joining us on our February meeting. Right. I want to put on the agenda right now that I completely passed over the minutes. So they were sent out as a draft did anyone find any changes they would like to include?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Second, please.
Second,
Thank you. Francis, yes.
Linda, yes.
Karen, yes.
Joanna, yes.
Rob, yes.
They're approved. What are we? 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. No, 5. That's 5-0. All right. Is there any old or new business that people would like to bring up?
Just one quick thing. Linda, the two contacts that you now have in Wellfleet and Orleans, do they have different types of benches, do we know, in their towns? And where do they get their benches from? Maybe we could ask.
I don't know, but I can certainly find that out.
They may be ugly benches, but it would, I don't know what they have there. And, but it might be a good starting point for us since they've probably, done some legwork as far as getting their benches and where they get them from.
Right, and we do want to keep in mind that they should be ADA compatible, which means that they should not have two arms. They only should have one arm, whether it's at the end or in the middle.
Agreed.
That's a point, ADA, yeah.
Even though they're likely to go in spaces where we don't yet have ADA trail access. It's better to consider ahead, maybe. Which will be there for a while.
All right, any other points people want to bring up? The next meeting, the third Wednesday is February 21st.
I'm gonna be in Maine, so I will not be able to make that 21st.
And I obviously have to reach out to the search committee and see who has shown an interest in joining our committee, and if anybody knows anybody that would like to join us, please ask them to contact the search committee. Okay. Thank you. All right, hearing nothing else.
Well, can I just add to that, that it would be, I think, really helpful for us if somebody was interested in joining, had some open space or related experience to bring with them. We have a mix of skill levels here, and I think that it would be helpful to us maybe to fill Saul's vacancy with somebody with a little more experience, rather than somebody just starting out, perhaps.
I will review, I will look at I think he will send me a list of and the files. And I'll see what our options are there. So that's why I said, if you know anybody who's in the field or an interest, if you could prod them to get their name in, because it's no guarantee for the list, for the pool there.
Yeah, that's because the search committee doesn't do any really particular outreach when a vacancy happens. I wish they did
And
more.
I have talked to in the past, knowing this was going to happen, about that need. But, they have, the file is what they have, so I will be sharing information once I get into that project. I hadn't started that yet. I was waiting for an official decision. Okie dokie. Nice to see everybody. And 2:30 worked out good for me. Everybody else okay with it? So we'll keep it on 2:30.
Great.
And that was a pretty good meeting, I think. Thank you, everyone. And I can take a motion to adjourn then.
I
So
motion
moved.
So moved and second. Hey, Francis, yes.
Linda, yes.
Karen, yes.
Joanna, yes.